Today I wanted to talk about the connection between your fascia and your vagus nerve. So fascia is connective tissue and it extends right throughout your body. You can think of your fascia as your body's largest sensory organ, and it has over 250 million nerve endings. What's really interesting is that the fascia, there is 3 times the amount of messages being sent from your body up to your brain as there is going from your brain to your body. So your fascia is communicating a lot of important messages. So from that, we know that fascia has a primary role of communicating to your brain what's happening in your body. So there are many different types of fascia. There are the superficial layers that sit just under your skin, and you might have seen those in an anatomy textbook. But there are also these deeper layers that wrap around your bones and connect to your organs. And these are really important for your sense of self, how you're doing, and that communication to your autonomic nervous system. These deeper layers also connect to your enteric nervous system, or your belly brain. Fascia is constantly evolving. It is influencing and being influenced by your postures, your movements, your repetitive patterns, but also things like your stress levels, hormones, and neurotransmitters. It's also influenced by things like stress and trauma. Now, the tissues of the fascia are meant to expand and contract. So we get this healthy movement throughout it. However, when we've experienced something like a physical injury or emotional trauma, we tend to go into shock, and this can constrict our movement. So this lack of movement, the emotional stress, the historical trauma can all contribute to this lack of movement and tension, and so the fascia can become less pliable. And this is why dysregulation can create areas of fascia tension, or what we might think of as holding patterns. Now, what's really interesting is that fascia receptors actually communicate really closely with nerve receptors in both the sympathetic nervous system and also the vagus nerve. The sympathetic nervous system can release neurotransmitters that actually create tension within this fascial connective tissue. So on one hand, chronic fight or flight can contribute to this increase in fascial tone and stiffness. But on the other hand, we see that when we engage the vagus nerve and we help to create this release of tension in the body, when we come into that state of safety and connection with other people, we actually create enough vagal tone that can counterbalance the sympathetic dominance in our system, and that can help with the fascial tension in the body. So this bidirectional relationship between fascia and the nervous system represents this intersection of emotional trauma and how this can continue to show up in the body and over time lead to things like persistent pain and other chronic symptoms. So the fascia can hold these chronic tension patterns in an area like this, our thoracolumbar fascia in the lower back, and that can continue after an event has passed. Embodiment is the conscious awareness of your felt sense of self, and you can wake up the connection between your vagus nerve and your fascia when you notice the tension patterns in your muscles, when you connect to the felt sense in your organs, and when you pay attention to things like your heart rate, where we know we have these deep layers of the fascia communicating closely with the receptors of the vagus nerve. And through interoceptive awareness, we can wake up this internal sense of self, which helps to bring regulation, but also to connect to our inner voice. If this is something you'd like to learn more about, I'll pop the details below of our upcoming trainings.